we're live. Greetings, everyone. And today's topic, I've got a special guest. Her name is Jackie Simek, and she's actually an old friend of mine. We met together in a coaching program with a brilliant business and mindset coach named Pamela Bruner. And I think partly as the result of our collective experience, we both sort of blossomed and bloomed since that time. And Jackie is now her own business and mindset coach. She's got great stories to tell and share. And our topic for today, which is the main promise of Jackie's work, is how can you make your success unavoidable? Which I just find like, oh my gosh, that's such a great promise. Like, is it possible? Could we actually be in a space? Could we do the work that we need to do so that whatever it is that we're after, whatever the success looks like to us, whatever that meaningful purpose wants to be in our life, could we set ourselves up in the position where that would be unavoidable or inevitable? So if you've been asking yourself that question, stay tuned for our conversation. That is where we're going to go deep and wide. Thanks for joining. Recorded live in Boston, Massachusetts, this is the Livestream Show. In a world full of underexposed entrepreneurs, the Livestream Show is your gateway to a global community of livestream pioneers who dare to go live and create something special and unexpected, which could only happen because it was live. I'm your host, Brad Powell. Let's get on with the show. All right.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Jackie.
Thank you. I loved the little snafu. I was like, we are live. This is live TV. Or live streaming, I should say.
Whenever you're doing a live stream, there's little internet gremlins that contribute to the process almost every time. And it's the beauty of going live because nothing that you can do live can be perfect. It's filled with the less than perfect world, which gives us permission to be more of who we are and show up as real people rather than some polished, pre-recorded, highly edited, super produced thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, even when I do my recordings, I never edit them. So I will have bloopers. My clients know I will like blooper and look at me and be like, did that just come out of my mouth? Okay,
I know.
Back to what we were doing.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, I'm right there with you. I love that aspect of this kind of thing. And I also like the fact that we can carry on a conversation that's much more spontaneous and impromptu. And when I bring guests on, I'm saying, hey, look, we're live. So what we're going to do, what we say is going to be out there. So thank you for being brave enough and willing enough to come and join me today. This is great.
Well, thank you for hosting and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so just as a way to start off, why don't you say, like I just introduced you as this business and mindset coach. Just tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing and who's it for and what are you really up to?
Yeah. So I say I do next level power activation for women in business. So the power that the title, the money, all of that women are seeking, I say that all lies within you already. And the way that I help somebody activate that is by doing internal mindset work. So looking at their beliefs, which drive their actions. And for me, the mindset really lives in the body. Our nervous system, our imprint of all of our past is in the body. So I use a tool that I'm certified in called EFT or tapping. That is just like an energy psychology tool. And I pair that with business coaching or business strategy coaching, leveraging 15 years of being in corporate where we were buying and selling companies. I have a very big financial background, but really helping mostly, solopreneur women learn how to message about themselves, learn how to really own what they do, how to show up fully expressed, and know how to advocate for themselves and what they do and advocate for the potential buyer, right? So many times I see people kind of shy away and they're like, oh, if you don't want it, but it's like really standing in their worth and their power And when you're in that, when you're all aligned and you love what you do and you love what your offer is for the world and you know how to bring it out into the world, you become magnetic, right? And how you mentioned, like, you make your success unavoidable, you know, what you want is literally already on its way to you. And it's about really opening up the ability to allow and receive.
Yeah. So if we went just a little stage deeper in the work that you're doing, what would you say is, if we just going to agitate the problem that you see, like from your perspective, that you're solving, what is the real change that you're trying to make?
So I believe that, like, women in particular versus men are really conditioned to think, they can't be in positions of leadership. I mean, look at the way we've sort of been subconsciously exposed to this, right? There's very few women leaders in business, like politics or leaders of countries. So there's less like women leadership, and that gets into the subconscious of like, well, I don't know if I can really do this. And I find that women really question themselves. They question, oh, like, can I do this? Am I made for this? Do I have to do it like men? And then there's a disconnect between the way that women are meant to show up and work and lead versus the way that it's been shown to us. And, there's so many other influences, right? Like, women couldn't even have bank accounts, right? So like the 1970s, like in their own name, right? So there's this ideology that sinks in about like, can I be trusted with money? Is it okay if I make a lot of money? I've had clients be like, I can't make any more money. I'm going to out earn my partner. I'll emasculate him. I can't be trusted with this. Or every time I've had money, it just flown out of my bank account. Or, oh my gosh, I got this money and I don't know what to do with it, right? So really giving women permission and their power back to feel safe, to receive, to feel that they can trust themselves. They can show up in their own unique way, in their own unique style, and be able to have this success, and that the success doesn't need to be measured and embodied the same way that we see it, like kind of shown off everywhere, right? Of course, I want women to make lots of money. I'm gonna edit myself because I was going to say a few money, a lot of money, but at what expense, right? We also, at the same time, we want to live really fulfilling lives. We want to feel like we're in alignment with our purpose, with the work that we're here to do. We're impacting our communities. We're home for like families, for relationships, like nurturing all of those things. And so allowing women the permission to write out success the way that they want to receive it, not the way that it's been like dictated or shown. Because a lot of times I really am helping women shift out of patterns that come from a lack of self-worth. And usually when someone has less self-worth or it's a little bit shakier, they get caught up in a lot of doing and a lot of proving, a lot of chasing, a lot of like, oh, look at all of what I did. And then they're either burning themselves out in the midst of doing it, or they arrive at the place where they, achieve the thing and they feel completely empty inside. And so I'm helping them shift out of that sort of masculine way of working and doing and producing, and also helping them shift out of the metric that is very masculine in the measurement of success, right? It's not just money. And ironically, when you can shift these internal things and you can shift your relationship with doing and be more in your powerful being, the money kind of naturally comes in, right? You naturally raise your prices. You naturally can hold bigger containers, have boundaries, have space for yourself, hire a team. Like, so it's kind of funny, like, it's like the chasing of the money will sell you short, but if you work on this kind of internal stuff and the back end stuff, the money will naturally flow in more.
Yeah. So I know that you've got your own story about, like, a lot of people who are in the coaching experience world are coming from this place where, well, once I was sleeping on my parents' couch and, I had no money. and then I discovered, Z. And
the rags to riches.
And then all of a sudden I made a bunch of money, and now I can show you how to do the same thing. And that, a lot of, especially online marketers, especially in the bro marketing world, that's the story that's being told and retold many, many times. But your story is a little bit different. Like, you actually were very successful in terms of the traditional, conventional way of looking at success. You had a a highly coveted and powerful position in a large company. You were making lots of money for the company and for yourself. And yet that phrase that you just used, it's not just the money, perked up in your life in a bunch of ways. Talk a little bit about your own story and the transition you made from being quote unquote successful and then
Yeah.
leading you on this like really different and alternate journey.
Yeah, I had a 15-year finance career that started off. Half of it was at KPMG, so a multinational, international accounting firm. I worked overseas. I worked in Manhattan. Worked for all the top banks you can think of, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank. Doing projects and stuff for them, and really dedicated a lot of my 20s to that office and to that environment. And everything was about make the next promotion, the next rug up. They dangle those things in front of you. And finally, the only thing left dangling was to join as a partner. And I decided, I can't just be on a one track and make this decision to stay at this company for the rest of my life. So I decided, it's time to leave, went to a private equity firm. And if you don't know what that is, I describe it as what Richard Gere does in Pretty Woman. So buying and selling companies, surrounded by multimillionaires with like jets and Ferraris and all of that stuff. But I really did enjoy the work, and help them raise funds. And this is part of the ecosystem of, where people with retirement money invest, or endowments for universities and things like that. So I really loved what we did. And we weren't like Richard Gere and dismantling companies. We were actually putting companies together and being more strategic in that design of them. And so that they can be in a better position to add more jobs for people, to improve our economy, to increase sales, to increase the efficacy of a product for somebody. So really loved what I did. And at the same time, I felt very unfulfilled in my life outside of work. So much so that at one point I took a year off and went backpacking. And when I returned from that trip, I actually fully quit. So I returned from that trip jobless. My relationship ended, my personal relationship, where I thought we were headed in the direction of marriage. And at this point, I just, came home from overseas. So I moved back in with my parents, even though they had enough money in the bank account. But, I don't know if that's immigrant mentality, right? Like, you're an immigrant kid, you go to your parents. And I was like, oh my God. I woke up one day and was like, this can't be it, right? I've been job hunting for a few months and just kept getting no's over and over. And I sat there, I had a conversation with the universe, and I was like, I just went to the other side of the world searching for internal happiness, only to come home and have everything fall apart. And I think the gig was up, and I was like, the only place I'm going to find it is within me. And I was in my early 30s, and I luckily found a great therapist a friend recommended to me. And our very first session, she did the modality that I now practice with people. And it was my first experience of it. She said at the end, can I do this thing called tapping? And I said, I don't care what you call it, just make me feel better. And I did this silly thing, and because you work with Pamela and she does tapping as well. And so it's just could look really weird because you're tapping on your face. It's a cousin to acupuncture. So you're just kind of tapping those acupuncture points instead of using needles. And a couple days later, I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just thought it was silly. A couple days later, I had this massive shift in the way that I saw something my entire life. An internal belief that I'm less than because of a family situation and setup. And that's what we tapped on in this family situation. And I was like, holy crap. It's I went to reach for that old story, that old validation of victim mode of this is why things are the way they are for you. And I couldn't find it. And that little bit of space that was given to me just kind of was oh my God, what else can I, tap away and open up and allow myself to receive and see life in a different way and see possibility in a different way. So in the meantime, my old job came calling. So I ended up going back to the same company and continued to do my internal work while I was back in the corporate setting, and continued to take it to the next level, do my certification, and kind of started to feel really good, and didn't want to rock the boat of my life, I guess, if you will. So I was just like living it up, right? Enjoying work, enjoying the city, enjoying travel. And there was a little voice inside that was like, you're meant for more. Like, you're meant to do this with people. You're meant to really help people. And eventually, that voice got too loud. So I listened to it and naively, without much thinking through of things beyond, oh my God, the whole world needs to feel better, left that job, left the Park Avenue multi six-figure job to start my own business.
Wow, yeah. Like, so one of the phrases that you just used that resonated with me was this search for things outside of yourself. And actually discovering that the answer, a big part of the answer that you're looking for is not out there, it's in here.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I know what EFT and tapping is, but I don't know that anyone listening or watching this is going to know that. So can you tell a little bit more about the process and why this works so well?
Yeah, sure. So, EFT is under the umbrella of energy psychology. And I literally just said it to somebody yesterday on Bumble, on my dating app. And he was like, oh, Reiki? I'm like, no, it's not Reiki. So EFT is a cousin to acupuncture. And it's called it could be called emotional acupuncture. And so what we do is we use it to soothe or solve problems, right? So soothing is just like you're in an elevated state. When you're in that like triggered state, when you're feeling emotional about something and it's not feeling good, you don't have access to your thinking brain. It goes offline. It's like the reason we practice fire drills, right? We become like a 5-year-old when we're kind of agitated. So this tool allows you to connect with the amygdala, which is our fight, flight, or freeze. And it allows it to receive a signal that says you're safe, you're calm, you're okay. And your brain can kind of come back online. And when your brain comes back online, if it's something like something that's agitating you that you want to solve, your brain is in a better place to be able to look at it from a different perspective, to be like, oh my gosh, wait, that's not even about me, that's about them, or that's not true, or this is possible in a different way, or here's, oh my gosh, like, you know what? They were trying their best and it's not their fault, or whatever it is that you need to like have a change in perspective on. And EFT has been widely studied. There's been tons of clinical research on it. It is a physiological thing that happens inside of your body when you do tapping. This isn't like placebo. This isn't like, oh, I think it works. You can totally not believe in it, do it anyway, and you're still going to get the results. So some of the things that happen is you create new neural pathways. So the way that you think about something is usually very repetitive, and your brain has little grooves in it. And if you're thinking the same thought over and over again, the groove is going to get deeper and deeper. And that's going to be the default line of thinking. So if you want a different future, you've got to change the way you're thinking, because chances are you're going to have the same thoughts that are going to drive the same actions that's going to end up, putting you in the same position to receive the same stuff. So it's very important to change the way that you're thinking about things, and tapping really helps with that. And it also helps very much in the body, right? The body has an imprint of everything that's ever happened to you. So if we use the example of maybe you have a fear of public speaking, right? So then even just thinking about standing in front of a room, or maybe even Zoom room these days, your palms might get sweaty, or you might start to jumble your words. Or my favorite is when there's like that second person that's present in your mind that's like observing and like ridiculing you while you're trying to say something, and you're like, what? I need to think straight right now. That nervousness, the ego or whatever comes in. So you can tap on that, and chances are you learned that public speaking is unsafe, or it's a threat to you, from something else that happened in your life. Whether it happened when you were really young, maybe someone laughed at you while you were reading in class in 3rd grade and it left that imprint, or maybe you observed somebody else who fumbled something, or maybe you're putting some immense amount of pressure on yourself. Whatever it is, you can kind of, working with somebody, you can help identify those things and then apply tapping to them, and your body, your nervous system, the way you're thinking about things will show up in a different way. And that's really kind of where the breakthroughs happen. And then once you I call it, like, we can tap all day long on the sidelines, right? But eventually we got to get in the game. So like the next time that you give the speech, like things should be better. Like all of those visceral responses should have gone down, and then your body starts to get a new experience of the thing that you fear, right? It's like, oh, okay, wait, I did the speech, I'm still here, it went well. Oh, a couple people like told me what a great job I did, maybe I landed a client, so your body starts to have this new experience, and that further changes the imprint in the nervous system.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you know, for you guys who are watching right now, I'm just going to say that there's a lot of parts of this method that are really starting to go mainstream. I mean, you will see at the Olympics star athletes who are in that moment of high anxiety where they're getting ready for their race. You'll see them tapping. And
Yeah, because in moments of high anxiety, we don't have the capacity of our full breath, right? We breathe shallow, and athletes need a lot of oxygen to fuel their tank.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I work with clients who are getting in front of the camera. Another high anxiety moment. And uh, when I was working with Gene Monterselli, I literally had him give me a tapping routine that I can also do. Like, I'm not a certified tapper, but it's like, okay, like I'm going to do this thing that's may sound really goofy, but it's going to calm you down so that when you get in front of the camera, you can use this and feel more confident doing that. And
Totally.
the thing that I like to talk a little bit more is the brain science part of the basically creating new neural pathways. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Joe Dispenza, but he talks about
I
this
love
a
Joe
lot.
Dispenza. Yeah.
And so one of the things that he talks about repeatedly is this thing of, in your mind, if you can be envisioning a future that is this future that is, in this case, your unavoidable success, if that's the future that you envision, and you are carving new thought patterns in your brain that have that vision in it, your mind can't tell the difference between what is real and this thing that you're
Yeah.
actually creating. And so he's really proselytizing about imagining the future that you want to make real, and that will make it real, which I
Yeah,
find
totally.
fascinating and brilliant.
So I love that you're asking about this, because this is exactly how I work with clients. It's a combination of cleaning up the past and what's happened to you, right? So if we have this like moment of when I meet the client, so cleaning up the past and the belief systems and what's been influencing you, whether it's the patriarchal system, or I'm first generation, so lots of scarcity from my parents and things like that, right? Or old corporate ways of working that aren't working anymore. Whatever it is that's like influencing you. And then it's about being clear, right? When we get rid of those limiting beliefs, when we're like, oh, that can't happen for me, because I'm less than, or because I've never sold this much in the past, or because money makes me scared and I've never been good with it. When we can clean up all that stuff, we can get really crystal clear on the vision of what you truly want, your truest, highest, most successful potential, and working on crystallizing that vision, holding that vision. I love Joe Dispenza. I also love this book called Happy Pocket Full of Money, which is a quantum based book. And it's about the quantum field, the universe, God, whatever you want to believe is out there, but there's science behind this that really supports the quantum field, is an energetic field with it that has like a knowing, right? It has it has the same probability of events happening, right? So whether you want to make $1 million or you want to make $1 in the quantum field, it's the same. And the quantum field is looking for your instructions, your visualization, your feeling, to give it the instructions of which one of those you want to increase the probability of receiving. And so many people can find $1 on the street, right? Or $1 wherever, because they think that's easy. And they think that $1 million is hard. But in the quantum field, they're the same. So it's about using the visualization, using your body, using your emotions to make the million feel normal, or whatever it is, whatever the next step is for you, right? Like you said, the mind doesn't know the difference between what we're seeing in real life and what you're seeing inside of your head. And that's the way like the mind's eye works with the brain, right? So it can familiarize something for you. And we want to make things familiar, not just from a quantitative or quantum perspective, but we also want to make them familiar because our bodies, I'm going to say this wrong, but they have a particular activation system, which is sort of like it's always scanning the environment for things that can hurt us. And when we use the visualization and we make something that's not presently in existence in our life, when we teach the brain that this is normal and that this is like, in essence, present, it becomes something that's not foreign to us. It becomes something familiar, and then it doesn't become something that is like, oh my God, I need to be scared about this thing. It becomes naturally a part of your world.
Yeah, I mean the key takeaway there for me is it's all about the emotion, and that's where things start.
Yeah.
So,
We're
your emotion.
everyone's taught to be afraid of their emotions, but
Yeah.
our emotions are, I say, like one of my taglines is like, your feelings are the pathway to your profits.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from your emotions become a thought, and your thoughts shape your reality,
Yeah.
And if you can shift your emotional state, which tapping helps immensely, anything's possible.
Yeah.
That's been my experience.
Beliefs are thoughts that are thought over and over again, and they form a belief, and your beliefs drive your actions. And your actions don't matter. That's why, there's a million ways to make $1 million. There is no set formula. If I gave you the formula, Brad, and I gave someone else a formula, you'd have different results. And it's because of the beliefs, right? So the action you're taking is just a mechanism to receive the outcome that you're envisioning.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so great. That's so great. Actions don't matter.
Yeah. And when people are really attached to the action, right? You're like, oh my God, give me the strategy. I have this, I just did a reel the other day. I was like, clients, when they meet me and it's like, give me 16A of the strategy, Jackie. Right. But then after a while, when they do all this belief work and they see their own vision, their own how, their own intuitive, this is the next step for me. And this is what I'm meant to create in the world. Because the world doesn't need another cookie cutter copy of what everyone else is doing. It needs your unique way of bringing it out into the world. And, when they get more comfortable with that, they make up their own ways, right? So when I do strategy coaching, yeah, some people definitely need like refinement in messaging and sales techniques, but then I'm the bridge, right? I'm like, I will give you these things and eventually you will make them your own and they will feel like a glove made for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so as a way of wrapping up our discussion today, this is great. This is really insightful, refreshing. And if there was just one thing that you would like people to take away from our conversation, what would that be?
That you are so incredibly powerful. It's like that Marianne Williamson quote, right? Like, we're afraid of our power. And I 100% believe that. I think you're the creator of your life. I think everything you have, you're allowing. So let that sink in for a second, right? The shit you don't like, you're allowing that. There's some reason that that's serving you right now, right? And so you have the ability to change the way that you see the world, to change your internal beliefs, to take the right aligned actions, and to receive. And again, receiving comes down to how much will you allow yourself to receive.
Yeah, my last question for you is, I saw on your site this goal.
My site hasn't been updated in like a year and a half.
That's okay. Well, anyway, there's a goal
just
on
to
there.
go to show you, right? Like, the site hasn't been updated. I think I made another $350,000 in that same period of time that like the website wasn't updated, right? So just to go to show you how magnetic and energetic, like, it doesn't matter that the strategy's perfect and the picture's perfect and the slogan's perfect and all that stuff that people get stuck in doing.
Right. So the question I have has to do with a mission statement that you have on the site, whether it's up to date or not. And the mission was serving 1 million women. And so really cool.
I'm so glad you said that.
Really cool mission. And I'm sort of going, okay, so what are you seeing in the terms of the possibility of reaching that goal?
I mean, I'm not going anywhere. And I'm so glad that you said that, because I haven't read my own website in a million years. But I'm shifting my business model. So the fact that you're reflecting that to me in this moment is validation that the model's getting shifted. So I've spent a lot of time working one-on-one, and working one-on-one really limits my capacity to reach more people.
Yep.
So we're shifting away from that model and shifting more into group programs, memberships, self-study products. And I think like that's really the way that I'm going to reach more people, is just making the work with me more accessible.
Yeah, right. Sounds great path to be on.
And of course I also want a charity arm. So that's something that I've also wanted to do, like to work with other EFT practitioners and really be able to pay them for their work. So they'd be paid like through donations, but then they would help people that can't access it. So I definitely think reaching 1 million people is absolutely possible.
Yeah.
I'm almost 40, but I got no kids and no man, so I got plenty of time to get this done.
There you go. Right. Okay. So anyone who wants to get a hold of you, or they've been hearing all this and going, okay, she's the one for me, how would you like them to follow up?
I am most active on Instagram.
Okay.
So I do daily stories usually. You can catch me. You can go watch my morning walk this morning when I talk to camera. I love being silly with reels. So I think really go there, pick a few posts, see what resonates for you, hang out with me, see if the energy's jiving. And there's always an active link there that will show you like either what we're promoting at the moment, a way to work with me. The latest way to work with me next week, I'm having a 3 half days virtual mindset retreat. We did it in January. It was such a success that I was like, you know what? Everyone asked for more, so we're going to bring it back mid-year. And then I have like my signature group program that's very intimate. So it's capped at 10 people. We just finished up a 5-month cohort of it. People were replacing their corporate salaries in 5 months and quitting their jobs. And it's just the results out of that are insane. That's called the multiplier. So if either of those feel interesting to you, but yeah, if you're watching this in 3 months and, go check me out on Instagram and you'll find what's the latest way to come into my energy and to come into my world. And I'm humbly, so appreciative of everybody who trusts me and is willing to spend their time and their resources and their energy with me.
Yeah, great. All right. So thank you again so much for joining today. This has been fantastic.
Thank you so much. I am going to go read my own website now.
Yeah,
I got to get off Instagram, go read my own stuff.
Well, it looks good to me. Could have fooled me that you haven't. It looks very nice. All right. So
I like to think that I'm expanding and metamorphosizing as we all are, but my core message is still the same. So I'm glad to see that hasn't really changed.
That's great. All right. So for everyone else, thanks for joining today. And I just want to remind you that if you want to dive in deep on the archive of all of these interviews, you can get them on your phone as a podcast episode. And this particular interview will be going live as soon as next week. If you want to go deep into all these kinds of discussions, go to thelivestreamshow.com and you can get it on your favorite podcast app right there, livestreamshow.com. And I will see you in the next interview. So long, everyone.